Good morning. This is Rachel with Infused Meadow. We're going to make soap today. I want to thank everyone that has placed orders and to let you know that I truly appreciate it. Due to sales, I do need to make some pure tallow soap, so I thought, why not bring you along? Now, I'm going to go ahead and let you know there will not be a cutting of the soap in this video because I'm making it today, which means it has to set and go through a saponification process, and it will be tomorrow. Okay, so you don't make soap, pour soap, and cut it all in the same day unless you're doing specific soaps like your salt soap, because that's like, pour that, let it set for maybe an hour, two at best, and then you're cutting it. Otherwise, it gets way too hard too fast, and you end up with ruined soap because it will completely, either you can't cut it, or if it does manage to cut, it completely breaks apart. So as you can see, I'm on my what I call my baking station. I have this little like plastic tablecloth that I like to put down when I'm doing soap, and I have all my stuff laid out. I have my distilled water, I have my lye. This is what I'm going to do first, but I've gone ahead. I have my whisk out. I have my thermometer for keeping up with my temperature. I have this spoon that I prefer to scoop to use as a scoop when I'm doing my tallow. I have more of these because I like to use it for the coconut as well whenever I go to make that soap. And then I just prefer this small spatula when I need to scrape it out of the bowl. Make sure that I'm good to go into my loaves. So I'm going to do a double batch of my pure tallow soap today. And like I said, just bringing you along. So everything is weighed in soap making. And I'm one of these. I like to be very careful of my measurements. Okay. You'll see. So I've gone a little over on my water. Okay, and I'll be right back. And now I'm going to weigh out my lye, also known as sodium hydroxide. I do not pour mine directly in the water. Could I? Yes. But I choose not to, because in the event I go over, that's not good. Also, in soap making, most of the time you'll see people using silicone, plastic, or stainless steel. You can't use just aluminum or just any other kind of regular metal. It has to be stainless steel. Otherwise, your soap, the lye, and everything will have a really good reaction to it, and it's not exactly good in a good way. So just as a heads up. And that's why I'm very careful. It's just in case, you were to pour a little too much, you don't have to worry about it. All right, so when it comes to this, you always pour your lye into your water. Never do it the other way around, okay? You just don't do that. Also, make sure you have gloves on, glasses on, and just be very careful. I like to, I'm going to pour this in here, you'll see. You're going to stir this up. I like to use this little whisk. It is silicone wrapped around the metal, and I've checked, I always check my equipment. There's no nicks or breaks, so I don't have to worry about some kind of weird reaction with my lye. Do not lean directly over this because the fumes, they hurt if you're breathing them in. What I do is, well, what all soap makers do is you're going to whisk this until this becomes clear. Once this is clear, I then move this in front of an open door. I would set it outside, but where I'm at, it does not stop raining, okay? It just does not. It does not. So once this turns clear, I will move this over in front of the kitchen door, and I'll have the door open to, help move air through the house, well, specifically around the kitchen. And that will also help it to cool down a little bit faster since it's so cold outside. So that's also fine. Lye heats up, just so you know. If you've never made soap, once your lye goes into your water, this gets very, very hot. I mean, well over 200 degrees. That's why you want your thermometer, is because what you're going to do is keep track with your temperatures. And depending on the soap you're making, you need to make sure that you get this down to a certain temperature. So like with, I'm making pure tallow today. So I'm going to want my lye and my tallow to be down at around 110 to 115 degrees when I combine them. With some soaps, you'll go down to 90. And with other soaps, you may go a little higher than the 110. I don't make those soaps, so I can't tell you much on those. I'm going to try not to extend this video too much. As you can see, we're turning clear. So I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to get this in there in front of that door. We'll be back. Okay, so I have my tallow. I have what I'm going to put it in. This fits into my microwave, and it's perfect for a double batch. I do have another bowl that I use for if I make up to a quadruple batch, which works really well, but it does not fit in my microwave. So I still have to use this, and this has been one of my favorite bowls. So anyway, all I do now, and I'm not going to show the whole thing because there's no point, is you're going to take and weigh out your tallow, depending on the recipe that you're using, okay? And you want to make sure that you're as accurate as possible. So I'm going to keep doing this until I get what I need, and then I'm going to go ahead, check the temperature on my lye, and then that will determine if I want to go ahead and get my tallow melted or if I want to wait just a little bit. So I'm going to get this done and we'll be back. So for me, there is paperwork to fill out, okay? Every ingredient has to have the batch number that came with it, and who I bought it from. So that is always kept in my paperwork because I am a business, and you got to keep things straight. You also have to have a very good scale. You can't just have a willy-nilly scale that you hope is right, if that makes any sense. So you also have to you need a very good thermometer. I've switched to this bowl. I've got my other tallow in there heating. That was my microwave going off. So I will make sure once it's good and melted, I'll pour it in this, and then we're just waiting on temperatures to come down. Anytime you mix, you want to be within about 5, maybe 10 degrees of each other, but I wouldn't take lye at 120 and mix it with tallow at 90, okay? That you're not going to like what happens. And if you end up with a grainy soap or one that really doesn't want to come together, then it's because proper protocol wasn't followed, okay? So I'll be back. I need to go check on that, make sure it's melted. We'll be back. So while I'm stirring this to make sure it's all melted, I just wanted to say, if you do decide you want to make soap at home, just make sure you do this somewhere that's away from if you have children, especially small children, and if you have older children, you want to teach them, or, you know, a project that you can do together, that's different. Small children, keep away from this, and your pets. You do not want, you know, them knocking over that lye and getting hurt. And you ended up having to go to the hospital unexpectedly. If you do get a little bit of lye on your skin, take your dish soap, rub it on there, and then rinse it off under very cold water. I know that a lot of people out there like to say use vinegar. Do not use vinegar. It will enhance the burn that is coming from that lye. So your dish soap and cold water will deactivate that lye, okay? Yeah, that's all I can really tell you. Like I said, I know a lot of people say use vinegar. I'm just telling you, my own experience, do not use vinegar. It will enhance the burn, and it could deepen the burn. So dish soap and very cold water. It will deactivate it, and you'll be fine in about a minute. Other than that, like I said, if you have pets or small children, keep them away from this. Especially if you're a business, you do not want animal hair in something you're trying to sell to somebody else. They may not have pets, and the last thing anybody wants in something like, well, in anything, you know, let's not lie about it. You don't want to go to a restaurant and buy yourself a burger just to pull some big long hair out of it. It's the same thing with soap. So make sure that, you know, if you're one of those that doesn't want to tie your hair back, then get yourself one of those hair nets. I personally keep mine in a braid every day because I'm in the kitchen, or I'm now, you know, I'm making soap. And so I don't want my hair into anything that I'm going to give somebody else, even food in my own home. I personally just, you know, no. But, so this is nice and golden and melted. I've got it all nice and combined. Right now I don't have my gloves on, only because all I'm doing is stirring. So I'm not worried about the gloves just for the stirring process. I will start checking temperatures. And like I said, when I get down to the right temperature, we'll come back. I will blend this in. I don't know. We'll see how long the video is. And then I'll let you know from there if I'll pour it into the mold on camera or not. Or the molds, I have two. And we'll go from there. Okay? We'll be back. So I just want to say one other thing while I'm waiting. For anybody that's, you know, interested in soap making, always make sure that you keep all of your soap making stuff away from your kitchen stuff. That way you don't get confused. I know it's soap and you can just wash it off, but, you know, in the event that the lye stuff does seep into your container that you're using, you don't want that seeping into your food, okay? You don't want to eat something that tastes like soap. So, highly recommended you keep all of your soap stuff away from your kitchen stuff. I keep mine underneath this, my baking station that my husband built. I have 2 large shelves underneath here, and so all of my soap stuff stays on the far side underneath on those 2 shelves. Because I also have some small crock pots for certain recipes that I may make just for myself for hot processing. And that's because when I put in for my certificates so that I could, you know, start my business here, I was not approved for hot processing. So I only do the cold process because I don't have a choice. Anyway, just saying. So this soap will need to cure for 4 to 6 weeks. I normally pull it at 4 because it's good to go at 4. Technically, you can use this, you know, after it's gone through its saponification process. But as it sets and it cures, it becomes better. It becomes a harder bar, and it'll last longer, especially your pure tallow or like your pure lard. They're harder bars, so they don't melt as fast in the water. And I do have several tallow recipes. I have the Luxe, and then on the pure tallow, I do have several variants. Now, I only have 2 variants up besides, you know, this is naked. Besides this, I do have 2 variants that I sell, but I was approved for 8 total variants for each one, and that's because anything past that, they would only allow me to ask for 8 variants. And so that's what I have. I just don't sell them all right now. I was putting some feelers out to see what people were interested in. you know, what they would like. Like I do the pure tallow naked like this, the pure tallow with charcoal and cedar wood, and then I have a pure tallow with white kale and clay and lavender. All of the essential oils that I've chosen are good for the face, the hands, the body, and all the clays that I've chosen are really good for your skin as well. I've tried not to go into anything that's toxic for pets or that's harsh on your skin in any way, shape, or form. And so I've done that with all of my products. And I would, I would suggest that if this is something you're interested in, you also go and do your research to find out, which kind of flowers you can add to this, what herbs you can add to your soap that's good for the skin, like rosemary, for example, calendula, chamomile. There's all kinds that you can add to your soap that's really good for the skin. So I would encourage you to go do your research and find out which essential oils are not good for pets, which essential oils are good for the face, which essential oils are not good for the face, which oils, if you're going to make a soap, there are certain oils that if you're going to, well, not for soap, because soap, let's be honest, you're putting it on, you're taking it off. You should not be letting soap sit on your body. But like if you're making face scrubs or some other kind of like face mask, for example, at some point I will do some videos showing those. But if you're making those, you don't want to use a essential oil that's really harsh for the face. Now you're countering exactly what your product is supposed to do, which is to help the skin and help the face. So if you're going to do anything like this, just be sure you go look into it. And the reason I like to stick with the good oils, even though it is a soap, is because what happens if your dog happens to lick the bar soap? You don't want your dog getting sick or worse over an essential oil that I used in my soap, So every one that I've chosen are pet friendly. And so, like I said, if you're going to do soap making, I encourage you to go do the same. Go do your research and not just jump onto somebody else's recipe. Do your research. Do your due diligence for what's right for you in your home. And I mean, that's what you do with anything. You don't just listen, to little Johnny down the street. You do your research. You can watch people do things all day long, but it doesn't make you an expert. You go to school, you take classes, stuff like that to learn how to do these things. I mean, yes, I can teach you how to cook a lot of stuff in the kitchen, but until you actually do it yourself, you will not be an expert. Okay? Over time, you'll be the best person that you can be in your kitchen, but and you'll be the expert in your home. And until you start doing your research and actually making soap, you're not that's doing is how you I'm trying to choose my words wisely here. I was raised on, when you fail, you continue to do. You keep doing it until you get it right, right? You don't just fail and walk away. So the more you do something, the better you get at it. And the better you get at it, the more knowledge comes with that. And that's what I'm trying to say, I guess, in a nutshell, is that, when you first start, you're a newbie, just like you were the first day of school. You don't know anything and you have to learn. So the more you do, the more research you do, the more you learn. And that will help you to ensure that not only do you make a really good product, whether it's for yourself or you want to start your own business, but also so that you don't have to worry about any kind of mess ups that could cause all of your, the money that you have in your ingredients to not work out, or to find out that you sold something that, hurt somebody's skin. So I didn't mean to rant there. I'm just saying, do your research and you'll get it. So I've rambled for about 4 or 5 minutes, and I apologize, but I hope that was very informative. I'm going to pause again, check temperatures, and we'll be back when it's time. Okay, so I've pulled you a little closer. Everything's at 113 degrees. I did have to warm this up just a little bit more for about another 45 seconds into the microwave, so it is fine. I have my immersion blender, and we have our lye. We're going to put this in. I will pause you and then bring you back. I'm going to get this to trace, which means this will thicken up to like a light pudding consistency. I do not want this at an extremely thick pudding, because that's way too far. and it doesn't need to go that far. Okay, so I'm going to pour my lye into my tallow. I can't remember how loud this is, so I'll be back. Okay, so we have a light trace. Which is what I'm after. And then all you have to do now is pour this into your molds. And then you can let that sit for just a few minutes if you want to texturize the top. Some people do that. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. If I'm honest, it just depends on the day. I know that this is probably just out of camera. I do apologize. And if you're going to use one of these tops, the tabletop that I'm using, just make sure that the one you get is heat proof, because you don't want to spill any of your lye and then end up with a burnt hole in it because it got too hot. All right. And there we go. I'm not texturizing. I'm just not. So this is what I've got. I'm going to let this sit for just a few minutes, and then I will move this to another area where I have a box that I use to sit on top, just to help keep it, draft free and away from light. And then that's it. Sometimes when I texturize, I like to take one of those skewers or a chopstick that I keep, just for my soap stuff, like this. And then I will literally just do a bunch of figure eights, and it gives it a really pretty design across the top. But like I said, I'm not really feeling that today. I like it sometimes just smooth. And I don't spray mine with alcohol. I know that, if you're worried about soda ash, which naturally occurs, then you can spray yours down with isopropyl alcohol, and that will help keep the soda ash away. I'm not worried about it. I'm one of these that I have extremely sensitive skin, and alcohol and my skin don't exactly go well together. So I've always had to be really careful about the things that I use. And for just in case, there's other people out there that's equally as sensitive skinned as I am, I do not use alcohol on mine. What you saw is exactly how I make my soap. So it is literally your lye, your tallow, and water. Now, naturally what occurs is, as this goes through its saponification process, and the lye helps to, make sure that all of this turns into a lovely bar, a nice solid bar, then glycerin does form naturally. Okay, so you need to know that. So if you buy soap and it says glycerin, some people may add it. I do not. I'm not adding glycerin, but it will naturally occur in soap making. Okay, it just does. So that's why anybody that's bought from me, I did have somebody ask that recently, and that's just me telling you what that is. It is a natural occurrence in soap making. So there you go. Like I said, I'm not texturizing this. I'm not worried about it. It will be absolutely beautiful, and we will cut this tomorrow, or these. So I hope that this helped in any way, shape, or form. And yeah, so there is a link if you wanted to go. Now, it will jump you to my eBay store for soap. Unfortunately, I did have a website, and I did a video on this. I ended up explaining that I had a whole load of problems with the website, so we ended up taking it down. My husband and I did, because it was just me and Shopify weren't quite getting along. Okay, so the website is down. We will bring it back eventually, but for right now, it's eBay. We are looking into the other big store again, and we're considering giving that another go. We just won't be able to list, any benefits of anything that I use in the soap, or else they'll do like they did last time, which is remove everything. So there's that. And there's also an email that, you know, if you have any questions or anything like that, you know, respectfully, I don't, you know, we're not going to have any go offs because there's no point in that. But if you have any kind of questions or anything, or, you know, just, I have no idea what I'm trying to say because my brain has stopped working. Anyway, but the email's down there, so you know, feel free to email if you have questions about something, or if there's something that I may make and you want to know if I make it and will I do a video on it, then hey, shoot me an email. All right. As I always say, there may be other recipes out there, so if you try this, you make it, and for some strange reason you don't like it, then I hope you find the recipe or the way of making soap that's right for you, because I did not give my recipe. I've explained that before. And as always, I hope you have yourself a wonderful day.